Welcome to the pinnacle of bike racing. Forget the Tour de France, forget the Olympics. This is the event. This is the Zwift Racing League, Open EMEA-W Eastern C2 division.
God. If I can make it to the top of this in the front group, fantastic.
Put some tunes on, race like hell.
Coming up in 5. Who's going?
Yeah.
I've got it. Come on!
If you're new to Zwift, it's a virtual cycling platform where we Pogacar wannabes get to live out our racing dreams from the comfort of our garages. The Zwift Racing League gives us all a chance to fight for glory in our own divisions. It's open to anyone, and there are leagues with different skill levels and time zones. If you've got a bike and a smart trainer, you're in. When I first decided to give it a go, I didn't even have a team, so I hopped on the Zwift Facebook group, posted a quick message, and boom, teams started reaching out. That's one of the best things about the community. People are always looking to add to their squads. I got a few offers, but in the end I went with Cryogen, one of the bigger teams on Zwift. They've got sub-teams of all skill levels, and I got placed in Cryogen Wuling Pass, a C category team with a good mix of talent. They were super welcoming, and before I knew it, we were on Discord chatting about the upcoming races and building some team chemistry. None of us expected to be fighting for the win, but as the league unfolded, well, let's just say that things got interesting. Right, let's get into the racing. The Zwift Racing League consists of 6 rounds. Each round is on a different course, and there are a variety of race formats. This gives a chance for all riders of all types to shine. The league kicked off with a team time trial, which, if you've never done one, isn't your typical race. Here's the deal. Each team starts a minute apart, and the goal is to get your 4th rider across the line as fast as possible. It's all about coordination, not just brute force. Team time trials are a precise operation. It's not just a case of going as hard as you can for the whole time. In cycling, drafting is a key concept. If you're a keen cyclist, I'm sure you know this, but for everyone else I'll do a quick rundown. Basically, the cyclist in front blocks the wind, making it easier for the rider behind to pedal with less effort. This saves energy, especially in long races, and allows the drafting rider to keep up with faster cyclists without working as hard. When you're the one on front, it's called taking a pull or taking a turn. In team time trials, the common strategy is rotating who is taking a pull. This lets everyone share the workload and conserves energy, making it easier for the group to maintain a faster pace together. However, doing this successfully is far easier said than done. Here we are, the start line of round 1. This is actually our first time riding together. We're definitely not going to be a well-oiled machine at this stage. Coming into the first races of the season, I was 99 kilograms. Not ideal, but luckily this was a flat route where weight doesn't make too much of a difference. Straight out the gate, we're getting ourselves in line. This is optimal for getting an effective draft. I'm using the Source for Zwift add-on. This allows you to see how many watts you're saving and is an absolute game changer for Zwift racing. We agreed before the race that we would take turns for about 30 seconds, or a bit longer or shorter, depending on how strong we felt. When sitting in the draft you save so much energy. I only had to do between 150 and 200 watts to keep up. However, when I got on the front it was time to put the power down.
I'll come off in 10 seconds.
Taking a pull isn't just a case of going all out. You need to set a pace that is fast, but also allows the people behind you to recover. Drafting is supposed to save around 30% of your energy. For that reason, on the front I set a relatively high power of 300 watts. That meant the people behind can recover at around 200 watts. Another useful metric in Zwift racing is W prime. This is very complex, but basically it's a measure of how much energy you have left. It starts at 20 and then goes down if you do a hard effort, and then goes up if you take it easy. In the team time trial, using your W prime to judge when to start and stop your pulls is quite useful. You don't want it to go too low because then you'll struggle to recover in time, but you also don't want it to stay too high because then you're not really taking a strong pull.
We're catching a team up ahead.
Swinging all on together.
Coming off.
1 to go. Nice one, lads. I haven't got anything left of me.
Good job, guys. That was horrible.
I didn't realise how hard it would be to judge the pace.
Yeah, for 5 years I thought we did brilliant, guys. And about 37 minutes is not bad.
Overall, the Wuling Pass team had a really strong effort here. We all took good turns on the front and we managed to bring the team home in a time of 37 minutes and 6 seconds. However, the real question is, where would that put us on the all-important league table? So, after round 1 we're sitting mid-table, a solid 4th place out of the 8 teams. Not too bad at all, especially considering it was our first time racing together. This is definitely a solid result. On to round 2. Round 2 is very different to round 1. Gone are the time trial bikes and in are the road bikes. It was a points race on the Sugar Cookie route. Points are awarded not just at the finish line, but also during 4 intermediate sprint segments. We had FAL, first across the line, and FTS, fastest through the segment sprints, which kept things unpredictable. All 4 of these sprints come before a brutal final hill, which is going to be the key selection point in the race. For me, being a bigger guy and a team sprinter, my job is to mop up the sprint points and then try my best to cross the finish line as high as possible. The other guys on the team wouldn't be contesting the sprints. Instead, they would save their energy for the final climb and try to maximise their finish line points. The race started fast. Zwift races always do, but I found myself having to push harder than I expected just to stay in the pack. At the first sprint, which was uphill, I gave it everything I had.
Bloody hell, I'm done. Oh. Right, 4. Not too shabby.
And managed to grab 4th place, but it was a brutal lead-in and I was already feeling the burn. The second sprint point was the fastest through segment, and winning it only offered a measly 5 points, so I made the strategic decision to sit it out and save energy for sprints 3 and 4, as my W prime was still quite low and I needed every bit of time to recover.
Come on! Oh no, he's pipped us.
This was definitely the correct decision, as I managed to eke out 3rd place on the 3rd sprint. Intermediate sprint 4 quickly followed. This one was brutal and I was really starting to suffer.
God. Oh.
However, I managed to hold out for 6th place. Now, the challenge was getting up the final hill and trying to get a few more points at the finish line. I was quickly dropped by the guys going for the win, and that left me in no man's land. There was a big group behind me, so I slowed down and decided to sit in with them. The big climb came with 10 kilometers to go, and I was really running on fumes here. The majority of the group rode away from me. However, a few more people came up from behind and we rode to the end together, everyone saving their legs for the final sprint. I managed to sprint for 2nd in my small group and 22nd overall. As a team, we crushed it. We finished 2nd overall, moving us up from 4th place to 3rd place in the league standings. Cryogen Mortiolo was still in the lead with 31 points, but we were only 3 points behind them. On to round 3. I had to sit this one out, unfortunately. Why? Because the Sunday before the race I ran a half marathon. Maybe not the best idea when you've got a Zwift race 2 days later. My legs were shot, so I had to watch this one from the sidelines. But the team pulled through. Another 2nd place finish for Wuling Pass, while Cryogen Mortiolo kept piling on the points. We were holding strong in 2nd place with 43 points, just 4 points behind Mortiolo. SICC had a solid week and were bringing themselves back into contention. Round 4 brought us back to the team time trial, but this time with a twist. The route was Greater London 8, which includes the infamous Box Hill. Now the strategy here was tricky. In a team time trial, the 4th rider sets the team's time, so we had to decide. Do we have the big guys, like me, set a fast pace on the flat section and then let the climbers go full gas up Box Hill, or do we keep everyone together and play it safe? Of course we went for the high risk strategy.
Yeah, key is to get the line, make sure you're not on the side of someone, sit 2 metres odd behind, don't be right up their arse, and lots of communication, just keep talking. Let's go, let's hope we're on the right bikes. That's it, just get behind someone, try and build it slowly.
Hang on, we've lost Craig.
Really?
We've got everyone. There's 6 people in front of me.
Yeah, looks like it. I'm looking backwards in the front. Bit of a gap to fall.
Are we going or waiting?
Right, it's settled into a rhythm now. Let's try and get that nice line. If you're beside someone, just drop in behind them.
I pushed hard on the flat, putting in big pulls to give our climbers the best chance to save energy.
Anyone got any thoughts up the little hill here? Should we just keep it tempo?
Oh, come on.
Coming out to a rise.
Hill.
Coming out to the hill, so back, push up a bit.
Halfway there.
Okay, we drop. You can see he's up at the front. Yeah, he's getting there. 3, 2, 1, back on.
Bloody hell, guys. That was a bit much up that hill.
Okay, momentum might take me through here, guys. Sorry. Coming off in 5, 4.
I'll take it up.
Who's going?
Yeah.
I've got it.
Need 3 metre gaps.
Down the escalator.
You guys are on for a good time at the moment. As long as you can think 4 of you can get over the line. It's just about pacing up the hill, and then it's downhill, and you've got 1k at the end.
When we hit the base of Box Hill, the plan was for me to peel off and let the climbers do their thing, and they did. They absolutely smashed it up the hill, finishing in 41 minutes and 20 seconds, 10 seconds faster than Mortiolo. We took 3rd place but gained a crucial point in the standings. Now, we were only 3 points behind Mortiolo, with 2 rounds to go. Now, this is where things start to get serious. Round 5, the Queen stage. We're talking about Glyph Heights, a 34km beast of a course with 600 metres of climbing. Just looking at the profile, I knew this was going to hurt. This route was designed to test everyone, especially someone like me, a heavier rider. For me, this wasn't about trying to win outright, it was about survival. My role was simple: hang on as long as I could, pick up whatever points I could get, and most importantly, don't blow up completely. Going into the race, I knew I had to play it smart. These climbing stages, they're all about managing your effort. Blow up too early and you're done for, but if you save too much, you lose ground quickly. It's a delicate balance. The key was to know exactly when to push and when to conserve. The race started deceptively calm, with 6 kilometers of flat before the chaos would begin. Everyone was sitting in the draft, conserving energy, knowing what was coming. But there's always that nervous energy in the air. Everyone knows the climb is looming, and no one wants to be caught out of position when it kicks up. You could feel the tension rising with every pedal stroke. I stayed close to the front in these early kilometers, making sure I was in a good position when the climb started. You could tell the heavier riders, like me, were getting a bit antsy. Then we hit the first climb, and all hell broke loose. The pack shattered almost immediately. Everyone knew that this climb would be a key selection point. The first couple of kilometers weren't too bad, and I was hanging on. My heart rate was steady, legs were feeling decent, and I thought, okay, maybe I can survive this. But then the gradient kicked up, and everything changed. It's one thing to be dropped, but getting dropped on a long climb is like being slowly suffocated. You see the group pulling away, and no matter how hard you push, the gap keeps growing. I found myself on the wrong side of a split and had to put in a massive surge to get back. I was using up valuable energy reserves, but I had to make that jump. This was it. If I didn't, I'd be in no man's land for the rest of the race. I somehow managed to claw my way back to the front group, but man, that effort hurt. My legs were on fire, and we weren't even halfway through the stage. Once we crested the first climb, the terrain leveled out for a bit, with just some rollers in the way, and I was in full survival mode. I knew I wasn't going to last long with the front group, but every second I could stay with them would make a huge difference in my final placement. I dug deep, gritted my teeth, and hung on. But as we approached the second climb, I knew the writing was on the wall. The group surged ahead, and I just didn't have the legs to stay with them. I watched them ride away, and it was like watching the race slip out of my hands. That's one of the toughest parts of these races. You can have a great strategy, you can prepare all you want, but sometimes your legs just don't cooperate. The second climb was even worse. This was the real test. It's one of those climbs where you just have to put your head down, shut off your brain, and suffer. I was in 20th place out of 43 riders by the top of the second climb. Honestly, considering the size of the group and my lack of climbing prowess, I felt pretty good about it, but I knew there were stronger riders coming from behind. My legs were heavy and I was just trying to hold on to any position I could. Then came the final climb, the top part of the grade, short but incredibly steep, where it feels like the road is just going to suck the life out of your legs. 3 guys came around me at the base of the climb. I tried to stay with them, but my legs just didn't have the power anymore. I was on the limit. After what felt like an eternity, but was actually 11 minutes, I reached the top of the climb in 23rd place. I was shattered, but I couldn't relax. There were a few riders within striking distance behind me, and I knew I had to defend my position. At this point, it wasn't about racing anymore, it was about survival. The last stretch was mostly downhill, and I used that time to recover as much as possible. When I hit the final kicker, I went all out, full gas. It was one of those moments where you don't even feel the pain anymore because you know the finish is right there. I had about a 6-second lead on the rider behind me going into that final hill. Somehow, after all the suffering, my legs started to come back to life. I don't know if it was adrenaline or pure desperation, but I managed to extend my lead and hold off the chasers. I crossed the line in 23rd place, absolutely spent. I'd given it everything I had. At this point, I wasn't sure how the team had done, but I knew it had been a tight race. I waited anxiously for the results to come in, hoping we'd done enough to stay in the hunt for the overall standings. When the results finally came in, it was so close. We had managed to hold on to 3rd place in the stage, but more importantly, our rivals Cryogen Mortiolo had finished dead last. That meant we were now at the top of the leaderboard, leading by just 2 points. This was a huge moment for us. We had been consistent all season, never finishing lower than 4th, and now, with just 1 round to go, we were leading the league. But it was still anyone's game. Velo's Vortex and SICC were right behind us, and Mortiolo, despite their bad day, was still a threat. After round 5, the tension in the team was palpable. We were in the lead by 2 points, but it was far from over. We knew that one mistake in the final round could cost us everything. Going into round 6, the permutations are as follows. If we finish 1st or 2nd, we win the league outright. If we finish 3rd, we will either win or be joint winners. In the event of a tie, Fin points are used as a tiebreaker. Luckily, we are doing quite well in that regard, so even if we finish 3rd, it's quite possible that we will still win the league overall. If we finish 4th, then all bets are out the window and the permutations get too complicated. Our best bet is keeping this in our own hands and finishing strong. Round 6 took us to a punchy course, the breakfast, crits and grits route. No major climbs, but a relentless series of short, steep efforts that really suited powerful riders like me. The pure climbers didn't have enough time to turn the screws on us heavier guys, so it was my kind of route. The race kicked off with a brutal 2-minute climb, absolutely not the way you want to start if you're not warmed up. But I expected it, and boy, did it deliver. I knew I had to stick with the front pack here, or my race would be over before it really started. As I crested the top, my heart rate was already deep in the 180s, and my W prime was down to 3. But crucially, I was still with the group. Luckily, a long descent followed, my chance to catch my breath. But it didn't last long. At the bottom, we hit a series of rollers, starting with the Clyde kicker. These short, sharp efforts are where I shine. My 1-minute power is a weird strength of mine, so despite pushing 500 to 600 watts up the climb, I felt surprisingly okay as we came over the top. Next up, we had 4 laps of the Bray circuit. It's not a steep climb, but after 4 laps it started to hurt. The first lap, no problem. I felt strong, stuck with the pack, and thought, okay, I've got this. But then came the descent, and I made a critical mistake. I took it way too easy, and suddenly the pack was getting away from me. Panic set in. If I got dropped here, it would undo all my hard work on the climbs. I had no choice but to dig deep and put in a massive surge to get back on. What a waste of energy. It just shows that in Zwift, any lapse in concentration can cost you. I managed to get back into the group, but at what cost? My W prime was down to 6, and the toughest part of the course was still ahead. For the next few laps I was much more careful. I stuck with the pack, conserving energy as best I could, knowing the final climb was coming. And then came the twist. A brave Mortiolo rider launched a solo attack. He took everyone by surprise, and no one seemed eager to work to chase him down. By the time we hit the base of the final climb, he had a 10-second gap. If he held on, Mortiolo had a strong shot of winning the round. The final climb was split into 2 sections. The first part wasn't too steep, a long drag that I managed to crest with the main pack, but then came the final kicker, a short, brutal ramp where the race would be decided. At this point it was all about pain tolerance. I knew my legs had one last effort in them, and my W prime was around 10, which meant I could empty the tank. I stayed at the back of the pack waiting for the right moment to attack. I had a feather power up, and I had to time it perfectly. I pushed 400 to 500 watts to hang in the pack on the first steep section, and then leveled off slightly. This was my moment. I kept the power high and surged past a few riders who had blown up. As we hit the final section, I used my feather and gave everything I had.
I'm done.
Crossing the line in a well-earned 7th place. My W prime was at -4, meaning I'd pushed myself beyond my limit, literally leaving it all on the course. But then came the agonising wait for the results. The Mortiolo rider had held on for the solo win, which meant things would be tight. I kept refreshing the rankings, hoping we'd done enough. Finally the results were in. Team Wuling Pass had done it. Despite Mortiolo's solo win, our team's collective effort secured us our first race victory of the season. SICC finished 2nd, and Mortiolo, despite the solo attack, ended up 4th overall. That race win gave us enough points to clinch the league by 4 points. It might sound like a comfortable margin, but it was a hard-fought battle right to the end. Team SICC finished 2nd overall, and Mortiolo had to settle for 3rd. What won us the league wasn't just this final race, it was consistency. We finished every race in the top 4, while our rivals all had at least one bad week where they finished in the bottom half. It was a true team effort, and every rider put in some heroic performances throughout the season. What's next for Team Wuling Pass? Well, our victory in the Open EMEAW Eastern C2 division means promotion to the Open EMEAW Eastern C1 division. We'll be back soon for the next round, and the competition will be even tougher. If you enjoyed following our journey, I hope this has inspired you to try out the Zwift Racing League yourself. It's a ton of fun, and being part of a team gives you motivation to push yourself to new heights. So that's it from me for now. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.